Today we talked about factoring quadratic functions. So what makes a quadratic function is when you have something like x to the second power, so x squared. So we've been talking about those linear functions, and those are when we have our y equals mx plus b. So notice in our linear functions one, x is just to the first power, it's just a regular x. You couldn't see that, my bad. So x is just to the first power, it's a regular x. However, in our quadratic functions, we have an x squared. A quadratic function is going to have a curve in it, so it'll look like a u or an n, or it'll be sideways. We'll get more into that later. For now, we're going to learn how to factor them. So with factoring, there's a couple of different ways you could do it. One of them is looking at this here, our 32, and we want to factor that out. So what we can do is we can say, well, 1 and 32 are factors, 2 and 16 are factors, 3 doesn't go into 32, 4 goes in 8 times, 5 doesn't go in, 6 doesn't go in, 7 doesn't go in, so that leaves us with these 3. Then what we want to look at is the sum of these. So if we add 1 and 32, we get 33, 2 and 16 gives us 18, 4 and 8 gives us 12. So once we have our factors out for this 32, what we're looking for is the sum that equals our 12x. So with our factors, 4 plus 8 does give us that 12 that we're looking at. So those are the two numbers we're going to want to use. So then, once we've done this part, we're going to have two sets of parentheses. See if I can zoom this out. We're going to have two sets of parentheses, and with this, we're looking at, hey, what times what gives us x squared? Well, x times x gives us x squared. Then we're looking at, well, what times what gives us 32, and what plus what gives us 12. So that's like saying x plus our 4 here because it's positive, and x plus 8 here because it's positive as well. So then what happened here is last week we were talking about foiling. So with the foiling, that's where we multiplied through first, last, outer, inner. This time what we're doing is undoing the foiling. So it's like unfoiling it or undistributing it. So I'm going to show you how you can quickly check. You can quickly check to make sure you have the right answer by foiling it. So we have our x times our x gives us x squared, x times 8 gives us plus 8x, 4 times x gives us plus 4x, and 4 times 8 gives us plus 32. Then we have x squared plus 12x by combining like terms plus 32. So then what we're essentially looking for throughout all of this is we want to end up with an answer that looks like this. So we want to end up with two parentheses and our x and then our factored numbers on the inside. Another way you can do this, if you don't want to list out all the factors and then find the sums of them, you can also use like the baseball diamond thing that was on your worksheet from yesterday when you guys had the sub. So with the baseball diamond worksheet, I know some of you guys got to it, but some of you didn't, which is fine. What they were saying is like, well, what two numbers can you multiply together to get 32? 32 came from up here, this 32. And then what two numbers can you add together to get 12? The 12 coming from this 12x here. So then if we look at this and we say, well, what times what equals 32 and equals 12, we have 4 and 8. So 4 and 8, here's our 4 and our 8. So there's two different ways you can do it. You can either choose to write out the factors and then find the sum. So if you work a lot better by seeing it on your paper, being able to work through each one of those, this is a great way to use it. Or you can use the baseball diamond method. This one works really well if you're good at thinking in your head and then writing your thoughts down. And then you would be looking for these two factors. I had great plans for this, but I don't remember them, so just ignore this for now. I'm going to go on to the next example, and I'm going to kind of consolidate what I'm looking for. So with this example, zoom in here, we have x squared minus 12x plus 36. So with this one, you can either do the baseball diamond, and you can say, well, what times what gives us 36, and then added together can give us negative 12. Or you can work through the factors and sums. So this would be our factors of 36, and then the sum of those factors. So if we have 36, we have 1, 36, 2, 18, 3, 12, 4, 9, and then let me move this so you can still see it, and then 6 and 6. So these are our factors, and from here we're choosing, well, what times what gives us 36 and what plus what gives us negative 12. Here, if you want to just think through it, well, let's see. I know that 6 times 6 is 36, and 6 plus 6 is negative 12. So now I just have to think about my integer rules. So a negative times a negative gives us a positive, and a negative plus a negative gives us a negative, meaning our two numbers are going to be negative. So we'll have a negative 6 and a negative 6. So that's one route you could do it with the baseball diamond. You can also do it by completing this table. So already we set them up. We add those together, we get 37. Add these, we get 20. Add these, we get 15. Add these, we get 13. Add these, we get 12. Here's where we know that we've gotten to our answer. That 6 and that 6 gives us that 12 we're looking for here, and it's a factor of 36. So these are the two methods that you can use to get to your answer. Now your actual final answer for this, by factoring out your quadratic equation, is going to be two sets of parentheses, and then we're going to say, hey, what times what gives us x squared? Well, x times x gives us x squared. And then we're looking at our two factors we picked here, and we picked here. And since these are negatives, you're just going to put in a minus 6 and a minus 6. So this equation that we started with, when we factored it all down, we got to this as our answer. When you end up with these as your answer, or you end up with these as your answer, it doesn't matter what order you put them into your parentheses. So you could put x plus 8 times x plus 4, or you can do it how it's written. It doesn't matter, because multiplication is one of those commutative properties where they can switch back and forth and you'll still end up with the same answer. We went through a few more examples in class. I can send you more examples if you need them. And then tomorrow, what we're working on while the sub is there is a factoring worksheet. So the factoring worksheet, you have this, it gives you a quadratic equation, and then it wants you to get to this answer. So that's essentially what we're doing. We're taking this and we're turning it into this. Email me with any questions, remind me with any questions if you need some more explanation with it. Missed you today. Bye.